Likutei Amorim Sefer Shel Beinanim. Perek Aleph. Tanya b'soif Perek Gimel Dinida. It says in the third Perek Gimel of Nida, Mashbim oisa tiye tzadik v'al tiye rosha. When the neshama comes down to the world, they put the neshama under an oath, be a tzaddik and not be a rosha. Va'afilu kol ha'olam kulo emrilcha tzaddik oto. Even the whole entire world will tell you you're a tzaddik. Heya be'enecha kerosha. Don't believe them, but look at yourself, but you're a rosha. Now the Alter Rebbe asked on this Gemara. Now Tanan Oves Perek Beis we learn Pirkei Oves Balti Rosha b'fnei atzmacha. It says clearly the opposite what we learn Maseches Nida. But there it says even everybody telling you you're a tzaddik, look at yourself as a Rosha. And Pirkei Oves says you're not allowed to look at yourself as a Rosha. Second question is V'gam im yebenav kerosha. And even if you're going to look at yourself as a Rosha, a person might become sad or depressed over it, that he's no good, and he won't be able to serve Hashem with happiness, with joy. And it's one of the Sodas HaChasidus. I mean, it says in the Torah, but that's the Baal Shem Tov emphasized. Avodas Hashem b'simcha. It's super, super important to serve Hashem with a joy. And if when he looks at himself as a Rosha, he doesn't feel bad about it. Basically, he's getting a message to himself that even though I'm not good, it's okay to be not good. I'm still happy. So that would bring him to do other kalos, to have kalos roish, to be light-headed about Torah mitzvahs. It's okay not to do Torah mitzvahs, I'm still good. But that's the question. Why should he look on himself as a Rasha? Now, just one nakuda before we go further. When it says that before the neshama comes down to the world, we put the neshama under an oath to be a tzaddik, valti a Rasha, l'choyre. Who we're putting under an oath of here? The neshama, the godly soul wants to be a tzaddik, doesn't want to be a Rasha. Yeah, and what's this whole the whole idea of oath? What is it all about? We're mechuyev in mitzvahs. Without the oath, we're mechuyev in mitzvahs. So one of the pirushim is brought in Chassidus that if you take the letter shin, which is mashbim with the shin, put the pintala from the right side to the left side, becomes masbim, sin. It becomes sin. So the idea of mashbim, that give neshama a shavua, that put the neshama under oath, it's to give the neshama koiches, masbim, satiate the neshama to have koiches to go through the difficulties, challenges of olam hazeh. So the mashbim is the idea of the shvua to give the neshama before it comes down to the world koiches to deal with the challenges of this world. Anyway, so the question is why the Gemara in Maseches Nida said you look at yourself as a Rasha when we know from Pirkei Avos you're not allowed to look at yourself as a Rasha. Plus, as we said, you might become sad, and if you don't become sad, it's gonna cause you to do more averas because you're getting the message. It's okay to be a Rasha and be happy with yourself. So in the Gemara, 5 groups of people: tzaddik v'toivloi, tzaddik v'raloi, rosha v'toivloi, rosha v'raloi, beinani. Tzaddik, the pashtus, the way we learn this Gemara, tzaddik that has a good olam hazeh. Tzaddik and is good in this world. Tzaddik v'raloi, there's a tzaddik, but v'raloi that he doesn't have a good olam hazeh. That's the pashtus. Rosha there's Rishoyim that they do well in this world, and then Rasha V'raloi. That's the worst out of all. Your Rasha V'raloi is not going to have not Olam Hazeh, not Olam Haba. Then Ubeinani. Now, so as we're going to see later on, he's going to explain that it's a Rasha V'toiveloi and Tzadik V'toiveloi, Tzadik V'raloi. It's not just talks about Olam Hazeh. It talks about on a different level. He's going to say right now. Pirshu b'Gemara. The Gemara says Tzadik b'Toivle Tzadik Gomor. The Pashtus Tzadik that he has a good Olam Hazeh. V'toivlo, and obviously Olam Haba is a tzaddik, because tzaddik Gomor, there's no reason to cleanse him over here with Yisurim, with giving him some difficulties in his life, because he's tzaddik Gomor. Tzaddik V'raloi, tzaddik She'eno Gomor. The Chassid is a tzaddik She'eno Gomor. He has some aveira, so he has raloi, he has some difficulties in this world to cleanse him. That's bepashtos. Now he brings the Raya Mehemna. That's part of the Zohar. Raya Mehemna, Parshas Mishpotim, Pirush, Tzadik v'Raloi. What is that Tzadik v'Raloi? It's not the Pshat Raloi b'Olam Haza that he has Yisurim. Shara sheboy kofuf latoiv. Tzadik v'Raloi means that in him lives a Ra. In him lives a Yetzer Hara. But this Yetzer Hara is kofuf. He subjugated the Yetzer Hara to himself. He controls him, but he's still alive in him. He has tendencies to do Ra, but he controls himself. So according to this, a whole new pshat. Tzadik v'Raloi doesn't mean he has problems in this world, physical or health-wise or materialistic problem. No, he has Ralo, spiritual Ra in him. There is a tendency of Ra. And by the way, the two Pirushim could go together too. That's maybe why he has some Yisurim in this world, because he still has a Ra that lives in him. The Gemara says tzaddikim, who is judging them? The Gemara says Yetzer Tov, meaning everybody, we have in our body two judges. Two opinions. One telling us, one judge says do this, the other judge says do the opposite. Tzaddikim, who's their judge? Who telling them what to do? Yetzer Tov. Rishoyim, Yetzer Hara Shoifton. Rishoyim, who's being their judge? Yetzer Hara. He's giving them his opinion. Beinan himself is a Shoifton. People in the middle class, always stuck in the middle, stuck between the two. You have the Yetzer Hara telling you what to do. The Yetzer Tov, it's the most difficult. Amar Rabbi says, "Kagoin ano beinani." Rabbi, the Rabbi of Babayov, says, if you want to know who's an average man, that the Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov judging them, it's like me. Amar Abaye lo shabik marchai lechol bria. Abaye says, if you're an average man, you don't give a life to any creation, to any person. If you're a Beinan, you're such a big tzaddik, so then what we are a shoyim. So Lovin calls the Bayer Hatev to explain all this well. V'gam Lovin also to understand Mashomar Iyov, as the Gemara and the Basra brings this Perek Aleph. Rebbeinu Shel Olam, Barosa Tzadikim, Barosa Reshoim, Chulu v'Tzadik, Barosa Look Omar. Iyov said to Hashem, "You created Tzadikim, you created Reshoim." If Iyov just would say that by himself, we could say, okay, he made a mistake, because Hashem does not create tzaddikim or rishoyim. That's what it says, tzaddik v'rosh Omar. Since the Gemara mentioned it, mashma, the Gemara must give to that statement, that Hashem creates tzaddikim and rishoyim, and that's what they ask, tzaddik v'rosh Omar. Hashem does not create evil people or righteous people. He creates people. We choose what to be. So that's the question. Well, how come it says there, Barosa tzaddikim, Barosa rishoyim? You created them. Hashem doesn't create them. That's our choice. To understand the essence of the level of the Beinani, and it says, of course, it says that it's gonna prove that. The Beinani, the way people understand it's like 50-50, 50% mitzvah, 50% aveiros, it says it's not so. Shim can, if it would be so, how Rabbi could say, I'm a Beinani, meaning he has 50% Aveiros. Rabbi never stopped learning. To the point, Malach HaMovis could not take his neshama. There's a whole ma'aseh of the Gemara how he did take his neshama by making commotion, noise. He stopped learning. He took his neshama. He was such a big masmid. So how could Rabbi, such a big masmid, learning Torah the whole day, could say, I have 50% Aveira? So we must say the Beinani doesn't have 50% Aveira. Furthermore, they say from the Chofetz Chaim, every word of Torah, it's a mitzvah. An average person, the Chofetz Chaim says, could learn 200, could say 200 words of Torah in a minute. An average person. Could you imagine if the guy learning a whole day, 200 times 60, it's an hour, and then multiplied by all these hours he learned, the guy has thousands of mitzvahs every day, millions of mitzvahs the guy has from all his mitzvahs. How could he have 50% million averas? It cannot be. Rabbi Tzaddik wouldn't have time to do the avera. Oh, another question. Person when he does avera, he doesn't have to have 50% averas to be a Bainani. When you do even one avera, it's called Rasha, because you're rebelling against Hashem. Somebody rebelling against the king with one avera is a rebellious. It's a Rasha. And even somebody would do avera midrabanon, nikra Rasha. Kedisha the perek based the vomas says Maseches Vomas. Perek kamadenido vafilum. If somebody not only didn't do averas, somebody was able to rebuke another Jew, obviously, and was able when the circumstance allows it in a certain way, and when he was able and he didn't do it, it's called a Rasha. If you're able to rebuke somebody in an appropriate way, and you didn't do it, you own what he did. You didn't do it, but you own it now. Nikra Rasha. Perek Vav the Shavuos. How much more the Mabatel as a mitzvahs esse, somebody he was supposed to do some mitzvahs esse, like putting on tefillin. He didn't put tefillin today. In Mabatel mitzvahs esse, he didn't do what he's supposed to do. The mitzvah he could have done it. Or somebody that's able to learn Torah and instead he chooses to waste the time, not to learn. Chazal telling about him, Kitvar Hashem Bozom. He disgraces the words of Hashem. I mean, there's no derech eretz for the Torah. That's the words of Hashem. Tikoros, we're going back. It's chayav kores chaz v'shalom. Pshita demikei Rasha. Such a person that mebatel mitzvahs esse is called Rasha. Tfei more over isu d'rabanan. If so, al kochach haBeinani and afilu oven bitul Torah. So we come to a conclusion. Beinani, he doesn't have even avera of bitul Torah. Kamishum hachi, and that's why Torah ba'atzmo lamarshu Beinani. That's why Rabbi made a mistake to say Bainani, because a Bainani doesn't have even one Avera, because with one Avera become a Rasha. So what exactly a Bainani is going to explain later. We're finishing with the Hagor on the side. Without we're finishing. One more minute. Hagor. Mashkosu Bazer Chelek Gimel. Daf Reish Lamed Aleph. Kol Shmim Motim Avoynoiso V'chulum. The Choyre from the Zohar Mashma. That what's the Rasha? What is somebody that's not a Rasha Gomur if he has less Averas, and he called a tzaddik. Sorry, what's called a tzaddik? If you have less avoinus, you call a tzaddik. So he says he shalas Rav Menuna Eliyahu. That was Rav Menuna asked Eliyahu Hanovi. He thought maybe that's the definition of a tzaddik. He has less Averas. But if it's Shuvas Eliyahu Shom, the way Eliyahu Hanovi answered him, Hapirush Tzadik Veralo, the Pirush Tzadik Veralo, Kmoshkoso Baram Pashas Mishpatim Deliil, the Shivim Panim LaTorah. It was exactly the way we're learning of it. That's what Eliyahu Hanovi answered him. The Shivim Panim LaTorah meant to say, Rav Menuna thought, Rav Menuna knew that too, but he thought that since it's Shivim Panim LaTorah, we could learn the Torah in 70 different ways. So maybe, according to one of the 70 ways, we could say, what is the definition of a tzaddik she'ena gomur? That he has less aveiros. Less aveiros, a tzaddik. Eliyahu Hanavi told him, no, the Torah cannot tolerate such a pirush. Even from the Shivim Panim LaTorah, there's no way. It's like, you cannot say, according to one of the pirushim, you can do Chilul Shabbos. No, you cannot do Chilul Shabbos, under no circumstances. Same thing over here. Somebody has one aveira, is a Rasha. So that's what he's going to explain in the next few prokim. We must come to a conclusion that a Beinani is somebody that doesn't have even one Aveira, because if he would have one Aveira that he didn't do tshuva on it, he would be a Rasha. The Mitzvah will continue tomorrow, 8:30. All right.
Yashikoach.
How you